All right.
All right. I am ready whenever you are.
Did you hit record already?
I did hit record, yes.
All right. Well,
we are live.
Why don't you go ahead and hit that button? Welcome back to Dad's Meat World, your weekly deep dive into that classic show known as Boy Meets World. I am one of your two dads, Tyler.
And I am...
Sweet.
Dad number 2, Brett.
Yes. Well, to start us off, Brett, I think we need to say it. We are together in one place.
Yes, we are.
Yay!
That's right, good-looking people. We are on a shared vacation this week with the fam. And while they're all downstairs, we're holed up in a bedroom upstairs and just set up a little remote recording studio and just recording a bunch of episodes for your listening pleasure.
Yes. It feels like it took forever to get to this point that we can do this, but it's nice that you and I are able to do this and just sit down together, see each other face to face, and then not have any lag in our conversation. So, because you guys don't always hear this, but there are many a times when one of us just be yelling at each other, not yelling, but just being like, Tyler. I see your lips moving, so I'm just going to assume you're making a point, and we'll figure it out later. So, yes. Brett, unfortunately,
froze.
Yes, spends a good amount of time, going through and editing out the way that we're not always able to hear each other talking over each other. So,
and Tyler, this week.
Remember, pal, I know where you sleep.
Yes. Yep, so we're just spending some time as a family. Kids are hanging out. Went to the zoo yesterday. Tried some interviews for a third host. Just didn't go very well.
It did not. They were not very receptive.
No,
the invitation was extended. It was not accepted.
We had a line of penguins, but, none of them... They just didn't bring it, They didn't have it.
They didn't have that factor. No, the it factor was not there.
Everybody had a good time. Everyone's been having a good time. Just been silly fun. And just we're out the tail end of our trip. So,
yes. And you know what? There's something special for this episode, Tyler.
There is something special about this episode, Brett. Do you want to tell them about it?
Good looking people. This is episode number 50 of Dad's Meat World.
Yes.
It needs to be like angelic voices.
That's true. That would have been good. Yeah, this is really exciting. We're halfway to 100, which is incredible. For the episodes, quote unquote, for like the show itself, like not the podcast, but the TV show Boy Meets World.
Yes.
This is episode 443, sorry. So we've done some other things along the way, bonus stuff that we've been able to use and whatnot. So it's the fact that this is now roughly a year, Brett, that we're doing this.
That's right.
Pretty big deal.
It is.
Very exciting.
They want you to take the roles!
They do want you to take the roles. We just watched an episode of Bluey where an old lady was trying to steal stuff. Yeah, so I'll just say this from my vantage point. I feel like we've learned a lot over this year, over these 50 episodes of, what the voice of this podcast needs to look like, how we need to do it, so that way it's fun, interactive, and we're bringing the good vibes. And also, I'm hoping that this is a good break from a lot of nonsense going on in your life as you're listening to this, and that it brings you joy whenever we come up, because we have fun doing the podcast, and as long as we're having fun and it's not really a chore, it's just a way for us to talk and be able to have a good time, then great. So that's just the way I feel. Brett, how do you feel?
I feel the same way.
I knew it.
Hopefully this is as much fun for you as it is for us. So Tyler, how about we dive right into this week's episode and
let's get into this grudge match, Brett.
That's right. So we're going to dive right into episode 21 of season 3, The Thrilla in Phila. This is Cory joins the wrestling team to make a name.
Cory?
Oh, yeah. Cory, the Cory, joins the wrestling team to make a name for himself, but eventually realizes that he doesn't have to prove anything. Cory and Topanga's mutual interest in each other is revealed, meanwhile, for the first time. That's right. Now, this episode was written by Mark Blutman and Howard Busgang, directed by David Traynor, originally aired May 5th, 1995, a full 2 months after the previous episode.
Nice.
Has an IMDb rating of 7.6, and in the latest episode of our favorite game show,
Vast emotional damage.
Our Nielsen numbers last episode were 19.1. So, Tyler, what do you think the Nielsen numbers for this episode were?
You know, I can't remember what you said was the benchmark for the height, but with it being a few months off, let's just assume that they came back with a quick bang of these 3 episodes, because these are all pretty solid. Let's go with 21, Brett.
You have lost the showcase.
That's fair.
They return from a 2-month hiatus with 17.8.
That's not good.
Not at all. Not even with stunt casting.
What type of stunt casting do you mean, Brett?
Well, we'll get into it, but I will tell you this fun factoid. This episode features the most special guest stars of any episode of Boy Meets World.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you can tell right off the bat that that's the case. I mean, not to mention a lot of the side characters that don't always get much time, having a lot of time, too. So.
Oh, yes. Well, take us away, Tyler.
Well, we start off in the hallway. We got Topanga, who's on the yearbook committee. Makes sense.
Does.
And she's trying to get some stuff finalized for the yearbook, so that way they can, get things taken care of, shipped up. It's the end of the school year. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, good-looking people. I didn't do yearbook myself, but I had some friends that were on the yearbook, and there's a very specific time of the year that everything is super intense, super crazy, because they got to get everything done, finished, and sent off to the printers. And I'm not saying that wrestling season should be done at the time of this, but it also should not be like at the tail end of the school year. Like, I know episode has an episode, season has got a season, but like, all of these timelines don't really add up for everything happening all at once. Like, normally it's like right as like spring season is beginning, a lot of times that's whenever they are finishing up and they're getting like the last little bits that they can, with like a month or two, like that's whenever they're sending out the stuff for yearbooks, because you get them right at the end of the year. So
you're saying this is not the time of year necessarily the wrestling team will be looking for an opening in the 108-pound super confetti weight division.
No, I'm saying that is not the case, because again, I hate to say it, but I think most of our writers did not play sports, so they don't know. And, I don't think a lot of them are on a lot of the committees that they talk about. So it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it, Brett. It's just episode has to episode.
It is.
That's all it is.
Just like my shirt today says.
Your shirt does say that, yes. So anywho, the boys are trying to think through of what it is that they've done this year, and apparently they've done nothing. Although, we have 20 episodes to prove otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, good-looking people. I mean, this is a duo who have... Sean's flooded the school. They have started a pirate radio station.
They walked out of school.
They have organized a walkout that consisted of just them. They've done a lot of stuff this year, but they can't remember any of it.
Yeah. They helped a girl get popular out of nowhere.
Yes, they did.
What else did they do? They did all sorts of things this year. Like, to say that they did nothing is just ridiculous.
Cory was the first person to ride the final or the last ride.
Yeah, the last ride. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Episode has to episode, Brett. But all of a sudden, we hear Cory trying to give an explanation of why their life is not going the way they think it should be. And it's because of...
The jocks!
Yes, out of nowhere, Cory is blaming the jocks, who I don't know, didn't even realize there was sports at this school with the lack of people walking around with Letterman jackets. Yes, the jocks are the problem, and all of a sudden, the wrestling team is like picking guys up and sending guys down, and they're like going through the whole hallway, and then all of a sudden they get to Cory.
I do like how the wrestling team is deciding on who fits in the weight division they're looking for.
Yeah.
Which honestly, it's not unrealistic completely for guys who are wrestling on a regular basis to be able to have a decent judge of who weighs what.
Yeah. Well, I mean, specifically whenever you are always lifting a certain weight as well. Like, I remember when I was in high school, I could tell something, like I'd pick something up, like, oh, it's this weight, because this is a weight that I'm constantly grabbing and lifting and doing stuff with. So it's a
fun visual gag, though.
It is a great visual gag. Yeah, they get to Cory and they say, congratulations, you're on the wrestling team. And he's just like, what?
Yeah. Now, for just completion's sake here, we've got Matt, who is the one who extends the offer and welcomes Cory. This is Jared Murphy. First and only time we'll see him on Boy Meets World. Total of 12 acting credits to his name: California Dreams, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Baywatch Nights, and others. He hasn't been in front of a camera since 2013. Savage is the guy who actually lifts Sean and Cory. This is the first and only time. Charles Carpenter is the guy who plays him. First and only time that we'll see him on Boy Meets World. He went on to a rather busy career. 53 credits to his name: Saved by the Bell, The College Years, Family Matters, Sister.
Sister.
Yeah, there you go. Jag, Beverly Hills 90210, Desperate Housewives, Castle, Go On, Dexter, The Mentalist, Bones, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Birds of Prey, Criminal Minds, and others. No Step by Step.
Well, that's all right. I mean, that's a pretty good acting career,
I mean,
though.
he's from what I can see, he's still pretty active. So, I mean, he's had a decent career since then.
Yes, but he gets the Letterman jacket, and then he gets a Candy.
He does. He gets Candy, and Candy is played by Kelly Packard. And this is actually her last of 3 times we'll see her on Boy Meets World. 24 acting credits to her name. We saw her in Model Family and It's a Wonderful Night as Tracy. So you can go back to those for her full acting credits.
So she was one of the horrible girls? Is that what you're telling me?
She was.
I thought so.
And fun factoid, she was also a Baywatch lifeguard.
Oh, fair.
Yes. But yes, fun. I did clip out as Cory's getting his wrestling gear. I thought that was a fun little moment.
Here's your jacket.
Ooh. Look, son, my jacket.
Here's a uniform.
My uniform. This is like Christmas here.
Here's your candy.
Candy?
Hi, I'm Candy.
Sweet.
Now, do we want to talk about Candy going with the jacket?
Yeah, it's a great bit. It's so funny. However, that's not how it works. As someone with a Letterman jacket, I know for a fact that they don't just come with a girl. And I guess this is a good time as any, Brett, to get into this. I have a hot take for you. Mm-hmm. A bit of a potential rewrite. Because if you've watched the episode, Good Looking People, you know that Candy really fits in with this crew, and we only see Candy with this crew. We don't see a bunch of other girls around her for some reason. My thought is, and I don't want to get into body shaming and all that jazz, but just based on eyesight, I'm guessing that Candy would fit in this weight class. Mm-hmm. Why is Candy not the Confederate weight or whatever they said, confetti weight, the 108 class? Because she seems like she's a part of the guys, and just let her do that. I have met plenty of girls who wrestle and could do fine. There's no reason not to. So the fact that they have someone else they're trying to find to do it, you got someone already, and she's probably already more talented in wrestling than Cory is.
Now, I do have a thought on this. I did wrestle intramurals for a year around this time frame. And intramurals, it was co-ed. But at least in our part of the country, in Ohio. At the varsity JV level, it was single sex. There was boys wrestling, and I don't remember that there was any interest from the girls to wrestle. So it really was just boys varsity and boys JV. So it is very, very possible that John Adams High just did not have girls wrestling.
Right. Or would not allow her to wrestle on the boys' team.
Very
also.
possible, yes. So it is possible that Candy is just living vicariously through this jacket.
That's true. But
because, I mean, we'll see later, she is very much a jock.
yeah, so she is straight up a jock. And that's why I guess it bothers me because, like, to me, she seems like a sports girl that doesn't need a guy. She just seems like it's just only there for the comedy bit. Yeah, the actress does a great job. I believe that she is this person.
Yep.
But I don't know. I'm also aware that in the 90s is a different time. But like if the episode doesn't care about continuity, just say that Candy is now the person. Like, have the episode end like that. Not I go with the jacket. Just say I'm taking the jacket because I'm tired of you guys, giving me these weaklings, But also, like, Cory goes, oh, yeah, there's no one in my weight class. I never have to fight. First of all, you have wrestling matches, not fights. And you know that there are meets. And you go to the meets and you wrestle against other people in that weight class. So, yes, Cory, you would have to eventually wrestle.
Yeah, because logically, if they have an opening in the weight class, then there are others that they would wrestle against in the weight class.
Unless, like, the rest of the wrestling team is like state championship level guys and they just need a body in there to take a loss, That's not possible. Like, from my high school, we had a really good wrestling team the whole time I was in high school. And so, like, they consistently went out and competed against big schools and would do well, but they needed every single weight class to compete and be aggressive. And without the whole team doing that, they would struggle. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't just hope to have one that, would just take a loss.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It just seems kind of ridiculous a little bit.
Candy?
Yes. I will say she does have better chemistry with Cory than she did with Eric.
Yes, she did.
Isn't that kind of funny how sometimes they'll have a girl be interested in Eric and then they'll have her be a different character and be interested in Cory and vice versa, and how awkward that may be a little bit.
And Eric never notices.
Yeah. But sometimes like the one will have better chemistry with one or the other. So I don't know. Interesting stuff. But we go to the Matthews house.
Yes, we do.
Cory, let your brother breathe.
Yeah. Cory and Eric are coming down, and Cory's got Eric in a headlock. He has adapted to this goon life very quickly.
He has. He really
Bring
has.
her, pal. I know where you sleep.
Yeah. But he asks, hey, can you please sign a permission slip? And he goes, sure. And he looks at it like, oh, wrestling team, great.
Oh, I have this. I've clipped this conversation because I thought it was perfect.
Amy, a little Cory made the wrestling team. All right, get your old man a pen.
Now, Alan, we should discuss this. Wrestling is dangerous.
Oh, come on. If you're signing up for ballet, that might be dangerous. Here, what do I sign?
Wait a second, Dad. Look, I know these wrestlers. They're like psychotic caged animals just waiting to take all the regressions out on little runts like Cory.
Use my pen.
First of all, Alan's just super excited.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, yes, my son's interested in a sport that's competition.
Yeah,
Yes.
he used to box in the Navy. He's got his son to pass on because Eric hasn't shown any inclination for, the pugilistic science, the sweet science. So, someone that's in a contact grappling art, he's someone he can pass that along to.
And of course, Eric doesn't take a moment not to go, this is horrible, and there's no way we should let him do this. Please, let him do it.
I found it interesting that, according to Eric, the wrestling team has a reputation for being just the worst of the worst, basically.
I mean, that's not unfair. Okay, I have to jump on a slight soapbox. When I was in high school, the pro the biggest versions of like we are the jocks was the wrestling team. Quite often they would clump together in a way and be like, no, we're. That's the best way to translate. And I think part of the problem is that because of the type of sport that is wrestling, and because you're out there all by yourself trying to do something, competing, you're competing with teammates, but, if you don't win your match, you're going to hurt your team. Where in other sports, it's, you may miss a block or miss an assignment or miss a shot, but there's always an opportunity to get it back. If you lose your match, that's it. Yeah. And so there's almost a cocky and arrogance that you need to have to convince yourself that you're going to beat anyone you go up against. You have to have that, and it's hard to turn that on and off. And I know that kind of like the wrestlers themselves in most walks of life tend to struggle in that. Football, you're able to once you're done, and you're just like, okay, now I can be me again. I don't have to worry about I'm going to go out there and hit somebody. My helmet's off, I'm done. Wrestlers could be wrestling at any moment because that's just the part of life. You're not in a bunch of gear. You just are in a singlet, and at the drop of the hat, you need to be ready and on and go. And so I understand that for a lot of wrestlers out there, because I don't want to talk down any wrestlers, that is part of it. It's a turning on and off that switch that can be difficult for you guys. But on the same token, for those outside of it, when you think of the bullies, unfortunately, a lot of those probably will be the wrestlers, not so much the football players.
Yeah.
But on the whole, though, Brett, the jocks this is the only time in any episode of the whole show where it's like, you know who the problem is?
The jocks!
Yeah.
The only time Tyler will be happy with Hollywood jocks.
Yeah. I mean, but also, like, as you are with these guys more, they're not bad people. Like, they're not bullies in the school.
They really aren't, no. They're not painted with that brush.
Yeah, and even at the end, the captain of the team goes, hey, you're all right. Like,
yeah, they're really not painted as antagonistic or horrible or anything. They're there. And so we've got a chugging contest to celebrate the newest member of the wrestling team.
And they're smashing cans on. I don't know why, but there's a running gag in this show that no one is able to smash a can to save their lives. And it gets worse as they get older. But
it is.
Candy has no problem with it whatsoever.
No, and Savage has got a wonderful insight.
It's all bone up here. You can't damage anything.
Okay.
Yes, it's true. The skull is all bone up there.
The fact that they named the character Savage is quite confusing, because there's points where he's saying like, hey, Savage, and I'm thinking he's talking to Cory. Yeah, but Sean's a little worried about this situation because Cory's not acting like himself.
Yes, this is very much off base for Cory.
Yeah. In a way, Cory's lost in his identity. Mm-hmm. Yes, but then we get to probably one of the best moments in this episode when all of a sudden a massage bed comes into Feeny's classroom while he's trying to talk about Nixon. And Griff, tries to get up on there because he's been missing too many days of school, and Feeny's been really harking on him about missing days of school. And he figures
the best way to rectify this situation is to just kill two birds with one stone, get his massage in while in class.
Yes. Feeny's not okay with that, though, and tries to push him out of the classroom.
Yes, and the conversation in the hallway is great. I clipped this.
I'm sick and tired of your antics. This school was meant for education, not for your own personal pleasures.
I couldn't agree with you more.
We are back from the airport, Griff. We got your lobsters.
Lobsters?
Flown in fresh from Maine.
I could eat mine right now.
They're still alive, Frankie.
I said what I said.
Mr. Feeny, care to join us for a late lunch? It's a 4-pounder with your name on it.
Young man, I want you to go to my office and wait for me. Just Mr. Hawkins.
Where Griff goes, we go.
Gentlemen, Don't you have lives of your own?
No, sir.
And what happens when Mr. Hawkins is not around to tell you what to do? If, say, he's expelled?
Like that could ever happen.
It could happen.
What? I didn't have to get my own life.
I'd consider it.
But all the good lives are taken.
It plays into that dynamic so well of who Joey and Frankie are, of who Griff is and Feeny. And Feeny's patient level with Griff is not very high. It's almost like he learned with Harley, like, I need to nip this stuff in the bud as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and Griff's antics are so far different from Harley's. Harley's are
almost cartoonish.
Pretty standard bully tactics. Griff's are just on an entirely different plane.
Yeah. There's a little more fun to it.
They're not bully at all. They're just... He's got a massage table coming in. He's got his lackeys picking up lobsters. They're not necessarily against the rules, so to speak, but they just flout authority.
Yes. It very much not against the rules, but very disrespectful.
Yes.
This is the 90s, however, because you can do things in school you can't do nowadays. I feel like Feeny put in a bunch of rules after this year saying things like, no one can go to the airport and bring back lobsters. No one can bring a massage chair in.
They do say that if there's a sign or if there's a rule, it's because someone broke it.
Yeah. Well, we keep talking about that with this Airbnb of, little things as like, don't do this, don't do that. And we're like, I wonder who did it so that way they have no choice but to put that up there.
Yes. Clip your toenails before going in the pool.
Yes. Just, it's so funny listening to our kids like, why does it say that? Well, because someone did
it at some point. So we're going to head to Chubby's and...
Okay, I know a lot happens, but for Chubby's, the main thing I want to get into is when Turner comes over to break up the fight. Like, I know that Topanga gets frustrated with Cory, and she's talking with Sean about Yearbook, and she kind of slips something. He goes, "You like her, don't you?" He goes, "No, I don't. Shut up." That's a cute moment. I'm really happy about that. But the thing I truly want to talk about is that Turner comes in. He thinks Cory's getting beaten up, and he's like, "All right, Matthews, what goon threw the first punch?"
Oh, I clipped that whole interaction.
I'm on the wrestling team, and we were just horsing around. It's what jocks do. I am a jock.
Oh, man, I hope you're not a rare blood type.
Mr. Turner, sidebar. I'm the only one in my weight class. I never have to fight. What can go wrong?
Matthews, you gotta fight.
AB negative.
Universal recipient. That should come in handy.
You gotta earn this jacket, buddy. Somebody else just signed up in your weight class.
What exactly is the range in my weight class?
No, Matthews, not Frankie, but someone who's looking to make a name for himself. Be his own person, carve his own niche.
Yeah, Matthews. And I'm gonna carve me a niche right in your stinking head. Nice jacket.
Well, unfortunately, you didn't get to the point that I want to get to.
Oh, my
Which
bad.
is when he broke up the fight. He goes, "What goon threw the first punch?" And Cory's immediate response is, "This goon."
No, really.
The transformation of Cory becoming a jock is complete within a day.
Total meathead.
No, all the stuff within this is perfect because it's like, yeah, I never have to fight. I'll never have an issue. Like, everything's perfect. And then it's like, immediately, hey, you got to fight. And it's just setting up that, like, Cory's trying to use this as a way to get popular or just be somebody, but...
And not have to do anything.
Right, not have to do anything. Unfortunately, children, you have to earn the things that you're going to have. Like, there are people who desperately fight so hard to be starter, the person that represents their team, like in a certain weight division in wrestling. There are basketball players who fight so hard just to get a few minutes on the court. There are people that are tirelessly work and try so hard to do these things. I know I was one of them. Like, I did not play much varsity until my senior year when I started, and I killed myself trying to do that. Like, there were days I know Brett saw me and probably thought, oh my gosh, did he get run over by a truck? Like, I killed myself trying to, get better and to do something. My biggest problem wasn't my strength. It was always my height. Like, if I wasn't so short, I wouldn't have had to work so hard and, wreck my body trying to do it. And I'm still feeling the effects of that all these years later. I have weight on my body. I might not ever get off because I was so focused on getting better at sports. So it's sacrifices that you make at a young age. And what Cory doesn't realize, and technically didn't realize this last year either, is that to do the sports at the level that they're talking about is very, very difficult. And Cory has none of those desires because Cory's lazy.
He just wants something to he wants a check mark. He wants that blue check beside his name for all those who use Twitter before you could pay for that blue check mark.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Cory just wants to be able to sit in front of a microphone and give his thoughts and opinions, which is what he was doing for an episode.
Oh, yes.
But anywho, Cory's got a wrestling match now.
He does. Oh, and before we move on from Chubbies,
yes, go ahead.
We have to share the birth of the nickname.
Greatest accomplishment, making the wrestling team. Fondest memory, meeting Candy. Favorite quote,
Good boy.
Goodbye.
I did not clip the birth of the nickname. Never mind. I'm cutting that out.
No, I like that. I that's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, the yearbook quote is gold, though.
I just look
coming over.
Good boy.
Cory, the Cory. I know the nickname needs some work.
That's like if we called ourselves, this is Dad's Meat World Podcast, the Dad's Meat World Podcast.
Yeah, with the Dad's Meat World Podcasters. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so Cory's going to practice jumping rope.
With a broken jump rope. He's practicing jumping rope.
Yeah, but he tried lifting weights, but they're just so heavy.
Yeah, I think this is the point of the episode that I get annoyed with Cory, because it's like he wants to train, quote unquote, but like, what does that mean for him? Nothing. Yeah, so he's watching, or all of a sudden Joey and Frankie pop in. Frankie's trying to teach him a little bit, and all he's trying to do is run into him, and then he ends up jump kicking him.
Highly illegal move in wrestling, by the way.
But
this is not WWE wrestling,
or
good
AEW.
people. Yeah, or WCW or TWA or whatever other acronyms there are. Yes, remember, this is Greco-Roman style wrestling where you grapple with your opponent. You don't headbutt them or anything we'll see in the last act.
This ain't ROH.
Yes, highly illegal act.
Yes.
But yes, Cory is...
Why am I always wrong about everything?
Nice little runner through the rest of the episode here. But yeah, great moment where we see Frankie the immovable object get moved.
Yes, but then we get to their official wrestling match, and unfortunately, neither one of them really know how to wrestle.
Not really.
He moved, Frankie. He moved.
Is that in the rules? And Cory comes up from behind, and he pins him, and Joey really doesn't fight it because I don't think Joey knows the first thing about wrestling.
No,
at all.
No,
he doesn't know to move.
That's all part of this too. That I'm like, no school sanctioned matches should ever happen if no one knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I didn't ever see. The only time I ever maybe saw a coach is the guy who was blowing the whistle for the pin. He looked like he might have been a coach, but that's
Who's that
it.
guy? Where'd he come from? He disappears.
Yeah, that's the only scene we see him in. I never saw him before, never saw him after. He might have been the coach.
But that's okay. But that's a problem also in general with most TV shows that randomly have a sports team like in one episode. Is that like there is no coach, just the students are the ones doing everything, and there are programs that there are coaches, but the team is so well structured and designed that there are players that are running drills and whatnot. But that takes a long time to get there, and I don't think John Adams High is one of those.
Probably not. Not if they have a super confetti weight division.
Yeah, but yeah, Joey is a little miffed, and
he wants a
rematch.
He wants a rematch in a unfair and unsquare fight, and he accuses Cory of being yellow.
Yes, he does, and this is a nice ringer of him just messing with him and calling him yellow and following him, and
he's going to haunt him at Chubby's on a payphone for a collect call, in the locker, and then in the trash can, which. In a real world, no way he could have managed that, but hilarious for TV world.
So finally, I mean, the wrestling guys go, Matthews, just take care of this guy. And finally, like, fine, let's do this. Do you have the exchange of them going back and forth?
I do, actually.
Oh, yay.
Matthews, you want to get rid of him? Just pound the creep.
Are you a jock or aren't you?
Pound him.
All right, Joey. You want me? You got me.
Yeah.
Good. Tonight, midnight, the abandoned warehouse on 7th.
No, 4 o'clock, Feeny's backyard.
No, 8 o'clock, the abandoned shipyard by the pier.
No, dinner time, my kitchen.
Is it abandoned?
Gentlemen, you have a score to settle now. I respect that. But settle it on neutral territory. Like the gym tomorrow night.
Griff, I don't exactly have a set of keys to get in.
Oh. Neither does Janitor Bud.
My kitchen, dinner time. Is it abandoned?
The juxtaposition of the abandoned warehouse and Feeny's backyard.
These guys live in some very different worlds.
They do. Anywho, I love that we're now like this is one of those episodes that just it goes fast, like from start to finish. Like this is just a lot's happening.
It moves. There is no breathing.
It's okay. I'm fine with that. Like that's why I keep looking at my notes. Like, are we at this scene already? Are we at this scene already? Because we get to Cory and Sean about to walk into the gym for their wrestling match, and he's like, "Well, there's got to be nobody who's actually going to be here."
Yeah, Cory's realized that. You know what? In between scenes, Cory's realized that. This is just too much. I'm just going to give Joey the jacket. He wants it so much, it's just not worth it. And, I'm just going to give it to him. It's not like it's going to be in front of, I wrote it down here. It's just Griff and a couple of thugs. Who cares what they think? It's not like it's in front of the entire school.
You see? Wrong about everything.
Yes, so we stumble onto the gym, and there's a... Let's say like a 1/4 a quarter size of a regular actual wrestling match.
Yeah.
Wrestling mat. And I like how they have like blue mats and the robes, but they don't have like anything more protective underneath there. Again, I said we were watching this last night, and I said to Brad, I'm like, as much money as Griff tends to throw around, he couldn't afford like a real wrestling ring. Like that would make sense.
But yeah, and I figure I'd let us slide a little bit because we're talking Boy Meets World sets TV budget.
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing. If they didn't have to worry about that, they could have had a full ring.
Yeah,
and I will say when the next person we're going to talk about, when that character returns, I do like that they're at a quote unquote real wrestling match. You know, yes. So it's not just like him in the gym throwing around Eric.
But Griff won't let Cory back down because phone calls were made, favors were called in, and these favors include, I'm going to throw some names out here.
Why don't we just throw all the names at this point just to give...
We've got Robert Goulet, playing Robert Goulet. First and only time we're going to see him on Boy Meets World. Sadly, he passed away in 2007. 72 credits to his name. I had to explain who Robert Goulet was to Toby last night because Toby has no frame of reference for Robert Goulet. A bunch of college buddies and I love to quote some Will Ferrell sketches from Saturday Night Live with Robert Goulet.
That's the only reason I know him, because of Will
Staring
Ferrell.
contest, you and me right now. You win, you always do. Nature, that's why I come here. But you can catch him. 72 other credits to his name: Howdy Doody, The Patty Duke Show. I mean, that goes way back. Mission Impossible TV show, Fantasy Island, Beetlejuice, Scrooged, The Naked Gun 2.5, Recess. Did some voice acting in that. The King of Queens and others.
Oh my gosh. I was like, wait, how is he in Scrooge? I was like, oh yeah, because the whole Robert Goulet in the swamp or in the bayou.
We're also going to see Yasmine Bleeth playing herself. First and only time we'll see her on Boy Meets World. 31 acting credits to her name: One Life to Live, Baywatch, Veronica's Closet, Basketball, Nash Bridges, VIP, and others. And we're going to see Frankie Stechino Sr., played by Leon White, a.k.a. Vader. First 3 times we'll see him on Boy Meets World. He did also sadly pass away in 2018. 32 credits to his name, primarily as Vader across WWE, WWF, WCW, and TNA Impact Wrestling franchises. He also appeared in Baywatch.
I believe that. Yeah, no, this is probably one of the best guest stars because it brings depth to a character that I think none of us realized at the time we're going to get depth, of Frankie. And of the 3 of Harley, Joey, and Frankie, Frankie's the one that we deserve to know more about. His family is the best way to put it. And so to get his father and to find he's actually a famous person.
Yep.
Although the fact that Cory doesn't immediately recognize him is a little upsetting to me.
A little bit, yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Yeah, I mean, he could have just been starstruck and like, oh my gosh, one of the most famous wrestlers is in this building right now. Like, I could see that.
And he wasn't wearing the Vader mask, too.
No, that's true.
So that's possible. And it could be possible that Cory was just being sassy.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, I'll let it slide because there's a few different reasons it could be, but still.
Yeah. So, Robert Goulet sings the national anthem.
Yep.
And then okay, bro, we have to talk about this. Vera comes out and she's like, Griff, how did you ever convince me to be here? And Griff kisses her. She goes, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Griff has magic lips.
Okay, let's just say that Griff is 18. Somehow, this 18-year-old is close enough to a famous actress in one of the most popular shows in America.
In the world at this point.
In the world, yes. Somehow, this 18-year-old has an effect on this woman, similar to other women that he's been around, that she is just willing and swooned by him immediately. What fantasy world are we living in?
The same one where Cory thinks he has a shot with her toward the end.
Yeah.
And
help, I'm drowning.
It was worth a shot. And honestly, when you stop and think about it, for the joke, it's funny. But yes, when you stop and think about it, because we do play hard and fast with Griff's age. He's been to multiple schools. He has a long transcript where he's had a rough issue. They've been kicked out of multiple schools. We don't know how old he is. We assume he's 18 just because of his looks and what he's able to accomplish.
Also, the actor used to play Senior.
Very popular character. Senior, very popular character in Band on the Run. But at the end of this episode, Mr. Feeny makes a comment that Griff will be on his way to detention when the bell rings every day for the next 4 years.
Yeah, I caught that too.
So either Griff is a very old freshman or he's not 18 yet. And so there's a very nebulous question about his age here. So you either have to choose not to think about it or you have to choose This is a very icky situation for a joke.
Well, but that's the problem with our favorite show, Boy Meets World, is that the joke comes first. Mm-hmm. So the continuity of what it all means doesn't actually matter. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that Feeny's assuming that he'll continue to fail because he doesn't have the grades. Mm-hmm. Like, he could technically be a freshman because he got transferred out of so many schools.
Very
that
possible.
He just,
I mean, we made the assumption that Harley was like a 20-year-old sophomore or whatever it was.
Yeah. So it's just, it's not that out there for him to be at a low end of senior or a freshman just due to never really completing any actual classes, never being there long enough to actually do the academic work. So I don't know. I mean, it's farcical is the best way to put it.
Yeah, very heightened reality.
I am choosing to believe he is 18 years old because I need to sleep at night.
Yeah, I'm going to choose that one too. And you know whose fault it is?
The Jocks!
So, yeah. So the last guest to come out is Vader, who's referred to as Frankie's father.
And one of John Adams High's most famous thugs.
Yes. Now, I will talk more about him in deep dives, but unfortunately, everyone, the man who plays Frankie Sakino's father is not from Philadelphia. So, spoiler alert for deep dives, but we'll talk more about that when we get there. But anywho, their match begins with Cory and Joey
fighting at the sound of the ding dong.
Sean be like, "What's this? Ding." Yeah, and also Eric ends up coming along, and he's going to sit
Come
by.
see an idiot get pounded.
Yes, he's going to sit by the Baywatch girl. He's so excited. Mm-hmm. And then Frankie gets in there, and Eric accidentally gets tagged in, so now Eric is in there.
Eric does pretty well against Frankie.
Yeah. And then Vader gets in there, and now Vader is against Eric. Now, there's a point where he has him lifted up into the air. The way that they shoot this, I don't think that Will Friedle is up there for like while he has him completely pressed, but you see him grab him by the neck. Which is very common in wrestling for big guys to do. And that's definitely Will Friedle he has wrapped around his neck. And later on, he has him like up on his shoulders. And that is definitely Will Friedle as well. So I think there's only like really one time when it went from Eric to like a stunt person or potentially even like a wrestler just dressed as him to now it being Will Friedle again. But things aren't looking good because it looks like Eric's going to get slammed by this giant man on these really bad mats until Feeny shows up.
Yeah, and I credit to the crew behind Boy Meets World because their choreography. I don't know if David Traynor pulled in some at this point WWF camera crew, or if he just really did his homework. But they staged and blocked all the action for this really well for this wrestling sequence. And I'm sure Vader brought his own experience to it, but like even when you watch Eric go up against Frankie, unless you're really paying attention, you don't catch like he goes in with the foot stomp when he goes for the headbutt against Frankie. They did a really good job with all of this work for this wrestling sequence.
They could have just done like a wrestling school like for a day and learned some of the things. Because I know a lot of times whenever they will do like special things that they shoot, they'll have the actors go in for like a lesson on, okay, you have to do this, you have to do it this way. And there are teachers for professional wrestling that they probably called in and could have been even someone that's connected to Vader. But, like, for lack of better wording as well, there's other people that will come along later on. Because I know enough about wrestling that I have someone in mind that they probably actually called due to other people that end up coming along as well that are connected to this person. But our audience won't know the person if I say the name, so I'm not going to say it. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, it is impressive. Like this is this is a moment in this show that they'll never do again, but it's really good and really enjoyable, and it's fun.
It's great visual humor.
Yeah, and I love when Feeny shows up. Put the boy down. Make me, Feeny. And Feeny
grabs
does
a
a
rope
little.
and hops over.
What? I'll ask you. Do you think that was actually Bill who did that?
I do think it was actually Bill.
Well, I think so too, because it's graceful, and he goes up and he comes down, and it's so quick that I'm like, I would think that was probably him.
Yeah, I do think it was a one shot, and I do think it was William Daniels who performed that.
So, just all of it was good. I will say before we continue in that Feeny versus Vader, I do love that Turner comes up. Hey, Matthew, sidebar. Matthews crawls over to him.
Are you kidding me?
I love he rubs his face of like, hey, did you see what's happening here? Like, did you see what you could have avoided?
You should know by now I'm wrong about absolutely everything.
And maybe, truly, this could be a turning point for Cory of being frustrated that he is trying to fit in somewhere that he is not fitting in, and finding out who he is, not based on what other people want of him, but just who he wants to be. So, yes, but Feeny tells him to put Eric down, and he says, no.
Make me.
And then he uses the
secret weapon.
The secret weapon, his real name, quote unquote, real name.
Quote.
Leslie.
Yes, you wouldn't.
And so Vader puts him down, and he tells him that the next time they see each other,
Texas death match.
Yes.
Loser leaves town.
And Feeny is unscathed by this.
Oh, he is unmoved because apparently Feeny was Vader's teacher when he was in school, because his bully tactics didn't work on him then, and they won't now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only thing I could see is that, like, the way they're trying to present it is if Feeny and Vader are actually closer in age, potentially. Maybe Vader was a jock. Well, I don't know. Just the way they make it seem as if he could be either he was a teacher, his student, or they were closer in age groups. Either way, it's a good bit, and that's all it is. But then we get to detention, Brett.
Oh, we're not at detention yet. We got to get Cory's actual yearbook quote.
I'm sorry, you're right. I skipped a little bit.
Yes. I do have a small problem with the yearbook quote. And let me play the yearbook quote for us here.
You like him?
Shut up. I need a quote to go with your picture, unless you still want to go with Ra.
Well, what'd you put for you?
I do my thing and you do your thing. You are you and I am I. And if in the end we end up together, it's beautiful.
Put the same for me.
Okay, here's my problem with the yearbook quote. That is a very specific and targeted yearbook quote that is directed for one person only. I am me and you are you, and if the end we wind up together, it's beautiful. Who is putting that as a yearbook quote for anyone in the school to read? Topanga is like...
But she's someone that I think at this point, she is aware enough that she likes him. She's made it very clear as often as she can that she likes him. And I'm assuming that almost the whole school is aware that these two like each other.
Oh, undoubtedly.
So there's a strong chance that she's putting that in there. But also...
You're saying she's shooting her shot?
Could be. It could just be like a, hey, I know where I stand. You just have to tell me where you stand. So, I don't know. But I agree with you. It is targeted towards one person, but it's a great TV moment.
It is that romantical TV moment to go out on. But yeah, I just don't like the quote. It's
I understand.
She's already told him to his face that, yes, I like you. Now,
you know I like you.
You know I like you. Now, do you like me?
I agree. But they're middle schoolers, Brad.
Yes, they are.
I do love that he gives back the jacket, and the one guy says that you're all right, Matthews.
Matthews. And Sean is right there beside him. Yeah, he always was.
And Candy walks away and goes, Candy, where are you going? I go with the jacket.
Did you know that? I should. I probably should have.
So yeah, this was an episode, Brett.
It was, and yes, we do go to detention, and Cory's never done detention with Griff because once Feeny leaves, Robert Goulet comes in and entertains them, and I have to say, I find it absolutely delightful that Frankie and Joey love them some Robert Goulet because they're bopping along with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that was an episode, and I believe that you have some deep dives for us.
People. Am I the only one who read the summer reading list?
The current weight classes for male wrestling goes as is: 106, 113, 120, 126, 132, 138, 145, 152, 160, 170, 182, 195, 220, and 285. Now, I don't know a lot about high school wrestling because I didn't do it, but what I do know is that you can be under that weight. You cannot be over that weight. There are a lot of stressors that come in wrestling, and one of the reasons I never did it was because I didn't want to have to worry about maintaining a weight to a certain level, and that fear and worry of if I'm not in weight, then it's going to hurt the team. Because I've seen plenty of times when people were not of weight and just the torture that they go through because of that. And I just didn't want to experience that myself. Yes, you don't have to be exactly that weight. You just cannot be over said weight. There is actually for the girls as well weight classes of 101, 109, 116, 123, 130, 136, 143, 155, 170, 191, and 235. Now, a little interesting tidbit for us is that in Pennsylvania, they officially, what I found last night, is that they have sanctioned to officially create a girl wrestling, officially make it a varsity sport. So in Pennsylvania, up till this point, we have not had an official girls wrestling, but now apparently is going to go into effect of this upcoming school year.
Candy can finally wrestle.
Yes, Candy can finally wrestle. Apparently they needed to get to a threshold where like 100 schools were willing to commit to having female wrestling, and so that was going to be the case. So that's really exciting, and that's good. We need to be able to have that. A little history into yearbooks for schools. Basically, we started around the East Coast in the 17th century. It was like a scrapbook, a clipping of newsletters, articles, and other mementos from classes. Then in 1806, Yale created an officially printed school yearbook. It included information about the school year, student, faculty, and even, I can't remember how to say the actual word at the moment, but it's those like best, like who is most likely to do what.
Superlatives.
Superlatives, yes, thank you. Reasons why a school should do a yearbook. They capture history. So that way, whenever you go back through and you see, oh, these are the people that were here. These are the people that did these things. They foster school involvement. You get to see all the different communities, all the different activities that go on. They encourage social interaction. Hey, you know what I've noticed over the past few years? People are on their phones more than anything else. So, they last forever. Well, until they...
Until they fall apart.
Until they fall apart, yeah. But I mean, I still have almost all my school yearbooks.
Honestly, until my basement flooded, I still had my yearbook from 5th grade.
Oh. And they provide decades of entertainment. As you rib your old friends on weird haircuts, weird things they did, and the pictures they took long ago.
And if you digitize them, they can go on social media.
Oh, yes, very true. So I've been avoiding this one, Brett, but I feel like it's time to get into this. Baywatch. So Baywatch ran from 1989 to 2001. There have been attempts to revitalize different types of Baywatch shows over the years, but this is like the main run of shows. Stars like David Hasselhoff, Pamela Anderson, Yasmin Bleach, Jeremy Jackson. There is just too many people, too many good-looking people that are in this to really go through all of them. But basically, it's a long-running series following the adventures of a team of lifeguards on the crowded resort beach. Veteran lifeguard Mitch Butchin watches over younger lifeguards that come and go with each passing season, and they keep the beaches safe for vacationers. It just kind of shows the stresses of being a lifeguard and predominantly the main reason why it was in pop culture was because you had good-looking people running in slow motion.
On beaches in swimsuits.
Yes, which is why people like Sean and Cory and even Eric were a little obsessed with it. And even going into shows like Friends, Chandler and Joey were quite obsessed with it as well. Now, to the main event. Big Van Vader, also known as Leon White, who you mentioned, born May 14th, 1955, unfortunately passed away June 18th, 2018. So, as we know, he's an American wrestler. He wrestled all around the world, in Japan, for several different companies actually in Japan itself, but he was a 13-time world champion on both WCW, CWA, UWA, and he also held the IPG World Heavyweight Championship. The big thing at the time is that at the time of this coming out, he was in WCW at the time. He was not the World Heavyweight Champion. He was the USA Heavyweight Championship. For some odd reason, that's what they called it back then, even though it wasn't technically the world title, but that's what they called it. They still called it a world title. At the time, the WCW champion was Hulk Hogan. So funnily enough, he appeared with the belt in this episode. And like right around the time this episode was airing, he didn't have the belt. It was taken away from him, stripped. He actually, at around the same time, he was competing with Hulk Hogan for the World Heavyweight Championship. So I don't know if Boy Meets World kind of pushed that because he was in that episode. If he was also then challenging for the title, if they thought maybe some kids or some families may be, interested in watching Vader go for it. But understanding that there's a difference between the character that he plays, the quote Vader character in this show compared to the actual character of Vader in wrestling, because he is considered a monster. That is the title given to the super heavyweights, the big people. He is supposed to be one of those guys that goes out and just dominates the smaller guys and, rips apart people. That doesn't go well with a family-friendly type of environment. So I think a lot of the families that watched this either already knew who he was or later on found out who he was, but weren't like actively trying to follow to understand better as he was big. Also, funnily enough, at the time in WWE, Diesel, or Kevin Nash, was the champion. And this is considered one of the worst periods in wrestling history. So yeah, even though Vader was on TV, this was not a great time for wrestling business in general, even though there was two companies at the time. Another note for Mr. Leon White, also known as Leslie, he actually was a football player. And so he was a lineman for the University of Colorado and was drafted by the Rams, I believe. Yep, Los Angeles Rams, 3rd round in 1987. And he had a few injuries that he had to deal with. He did play in the Super Bowl against the Steelers, but then was cut, then started a career of real estate. So he played for a few seasons and played pretty well and was an All-American when he played for Colorado. So it's a hard life to live, especially as a lineman in the NFL. So yeah, that is our friend Vader, and we cannot wait to see him again because every episode he is in is always special and quite fun.
Yes, it is.
We'll see him again next season. Yeah, next season. Yeah. At least once, and then we'll see him again in the season prior. So
that's right.
So those are your deep dives, Brett.
All right, so
You know anything about the Odyssey? Huh? Did I say you could talk?
I didn't teach you that.
My friend Mr. Matthews will lead the discussion.
Do I have to draw you a picture?
what did we learn today?
Well, Brett, if I'm honest, here's what I learned today. We just have to admit when we don't know something, or when we're wrong. When we make a poor choice and we realize we need to backtrack and do something else, we gotta deal with that. So, I think unfortunately sometimes we get so stuck into, well, this is what we're doing, this is what's going to happen, that we tend to forget that, well, we messed up, we made a mistake, and we need to backtrack and figure out what to do next.
Mm-hmm. I learned we don't tick off Vader.
Very nice.
Nah. I learned, well, yeah. I think we learned that it's really okay to not feel the need to give in to peer pressure. Because, I mean, Cory really only gave in to the fight with Joey because he was being pressured into it by Joey, by the rest of the team. He could have walked away.
Yep.
He could have walked away from Griff. Just because favors were called in doesn't mean that he couldn't have just said, hey, here's the jacket, whatever.
Right.
He could have avoided a lot of pain, a lot of detention. But, you know, it's never too late to say, I'm done.
Yep.
It's never too late to say, you know, I made a mistake.
Yep.
So.
That's a great lesson of it's never too late. So I agree with that completely.
Yeah. So.
I'm right?
No, you're exactly right.
So am I done with my education? Can I go?
Let's talk about grades. I myself gave the Thrilla and Phila an A-.
Very nice.
Very solid episode. Love our first experience with Vader and Mr. Feeny hopping in the ring to stand up to him. A couple of things I can't get past that I have a hard time working through, but a lot of really solid stuff and a lot of good. I love seeing Cory come to the realization on his own that he's just gotten in over his head and he needs to walk away, that he does not need this.
Yeah.
And I love seeing Sean quietly in the background, just sticking by Cory the whole time to remind him, this isn't you. You don't need this.
Yeah. It's one of those episodes that I want to give it that A tier, but it's missing one very important thing. And that's at any point for one of his parents to say, hey, what's going on? Mm-hmm. Like, why do you want to join the wrestling team? Like, Amy is only here to say, oh, I just don't want him to. And Alan's like, yeah, let's do it. And based on Amy and what we know of her and the time she spent with him, I really wish we would have had a scene where she looked at him and went, just tell me why. Like, sitting at the dinner table, hey, can you explain to me, like, why do you want to join the wrestling? You've never expressed interest in this whatsoever. Like, why now? So it's just like, and I know we need to get through so many things. We have a lot of guest stars. We got, Topanga is here. Like, this is a very full episode, and it handles it super well. I guess my thing right now is, like, I'm going through the lens of being a parent and not really having much of interaction with his parents at all this episode, which I get. We're getting less and less of that throughout the show, and it's okay. But I really feel like there should have been a moment with him and his parents, and he didn't have that outside of my boy, the Cory.
Cory, the Cory.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a very strong A+ episode, or not A+, B+ episode. It's just barely misses the mark of an A episode. There's no way around it. It's a great episode. Yeah. It's just, I mean, there's always a chance in between that Cory had this moment where he talked with his parents, and but we're not seeing that anymore. And there's so much happening in this episode that we don't get to that. So, if we had just seen a few seconds of a conversation, or know that a conversation had just happened, something, I could have given it a higher score, but I can't go higher than a B+.
Definitely with you on the parents.
It's a great episode. I really liked it.
Yeah. Definitely with you on the parents there.
Yeah.
All right. So before we go, I hear you've got a dad joke for me.
Oh, crap. Yeah.
Apparently, I don't know where I heard that from, but I did hear it. Maybe it was from the other, 49 episodes where we've got that set up as our shtick.
Maybe. All right. Here we go.
All right.
I'll give you a dad joke, but it's more of a poem, if you will.
Okay.
It goes like this. Dear Math, grow up and solve your own problems.
I like that one. Math's not my strongest subject.
I don't mind math. But, Brett, I think this is officially an episode.
I think it is officially an episode. So, good-looking people, thank you for sticking around for 50 episodes. And hopefully we'll see you for 50 more.
Yes, definitely.
And we'll be on that, because there's more than 50 coming.
Yep. Way more than that.
So you can connect with us on social media at Dad's Meat World across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and whatever else we'll ever eventually get into. We'll grab that at Dad's Meat World. You can find us on YouTube at Dad's Meat World, and you can send us an email, dadsmeatworld@gmail.com.
Yeah, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and we'll read them.
That's right. We will read your emails, read your reviews, and if you leave reviews, it will let other people know how to find us and spread the dadly goodness to the world.
The episode has the episode goodness.
That's right. And speaking of which, you can pick up some sweet Dads Meet World merch at dadsmeetworld.threadless.com.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, one of my shirts, I got that super soft stuff, and every single time I wear it, my wife goes, "Ooh, your shirt's so soft." So
That's
if you want
right.
to impress a lady out there with a nice soft shirt, I know you can find one at dadsmeetworld.com. Not .com, I'm sorry. Threadless.
Threadless.com.
One of those things.
We don't own the dadsmeetworld.com URL. I have to look into that.
Not yet.
And remember, if you want to sponsor us, let us know.
Yes, and also definitely let us know if you want a girl meets world, a mom meets world podcast as well.
That's right. Let us know. We won't really talk about that for 2 episodes, but until next time, good-looking people, we will see you.
And they want you to take the roles.
They want you to take the roles.
You can find Dads Meet World on Facebook, Twitter, and probably a few other places just by searching for Dads Meet World. Dads Meet World is a production of Headfirst Studios. Headfirst Studios. Tell your story. All right, so before we go, I hear you've got a dad joke for me.
Oh, crap, yeah.
Apparently, I don't know where I heard that from, but I did hear it. Maybe it was from the other, 49 episodes where we've got that set up as our shtick.
Maybe. Oh, gosh.
Good-looking people. 50th episode spectacular peek behind the curtain. Tyler and I like to divide the episodes up and take turns hosting, and whoever's hosting has the dad joke for the day. If you haven't caught on to that, it's usually fairly obvious when we do.
Woofa.